Most people like to think that whatever time they are in is the most advanced time that humanity has ever been in. They also tend to assume that all progress and all change is actually good and moves humanity forward. The truth is that humanity sometimes has setbacks, and it will certainly have setbacks again. There are actually many reasons to believe that our current modern age may not be very good for humanity long term and could be setting us up for calamity in the future. As we have become increasingly reliant on technology, we have become less able to care for ourselves and less able to plan for the future. Number 10. Our current era of mass information could be a dark age in the future. While most people think of our modern era as a golden age of technology and progress, the truth is that a lot of archivists and other data storage experts are extremely worried about the long-term storage of the current sum of humanity's knowledge. Right now, almost everything is stored in some electronic form, and the few records that are still on paper could easily be destroyed by adverse climate conditions. They are worried if any kind of serious upheaval happens, whether it were more like a climate shift or something caused by massive wars, we could end up in a position where nearly all of our knowledge was irretrievable. Many of our current electronic forms of storage would not hold up that well in the event of a serious disaster, but even if they did, we would need to have the equipment to read them. In other words, if we don't have the right electronic devices, all of that information is basically inaccessible, and if the information on how to make more of those electronic devices resides on electronic storage we can't read, then we will be pretty much completely out of luck. Archivists would like to find ways to store information that is more reliable and doesn't degrade so easily over time like paper, but also doesn't require a lot of sophistication like electronic media. While it is good they are at least thinking about it, time is running out, and even if they had the technology today, shifting all of the world's information to a new storage media would take many years. Number 9. The internet has allowed for echo chambers of radical and abhorrent ideas. The internet is certainly an incredible step in terms of communication. You can pretty much communicate with anyone, anywhere in the world at any time without even having to get out of bed. Information now spreads at an incredibly fast rate, and most people would tell you that people are better informed than ever due to the internet. However, the internet communication era is not without its downsides. Mark Twain once famously said that a lie can get halfway around the world before the truth can get its pants on. But in today's instant communication world, it's far faster than that. The internet has given people access to most of the information in the world, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's made people better at spotting untruths. To make matters worse, the ability for horrible things to spread on the internet very quickly has led to the rise of all kinds of awful groups who band together in solidarity, like pedophiles and neo-Nazis. While once these people's abhorrent viewpoints would be rightfully shunned, they can now go online and find a community where people give excuses to each other for their horrible behavior and sometimes encourage further criminal action. Some recent killers like Elliot Rodger and Dylan Roof were partly radicalized by hate groups. It cannot be said that the online groups were directly responsible, but their violent and extremist rhetoric can help push unstable people over the edge. Number 8. The digital age of right now is ruining our patience and long-term planning capabilities. Many people have said that today's children have little or no sense of delayed gratification. However, what those people don't realize is that it's not just the children, it's pretty much anyone who regularly uses the internet or a mobile device. The way the internet works today is like a bright, shiny slot machine that gives you a dopamine high every time you pull on that lever, no matter what happens. People go on the internet looking for that instant satisfaction, whether it's a like on their Facebook status or maybe just that next tidbit of information. People are also instantly able to order almost anything, and if they're willing to pay enough, they can get it in less than 24 hours. They can watch, listen to, or download almost any file imaginable, and there is no need to wait or even leave your room or whatever location you're currently in. While many people praise the amazing convenience of the modern world, some worry that it's having unseen negative consequences. While some will defend the now culture by stating that we are simply living in a faster-paced and more connected modern world, the truth is that studies have shown that not only do people of today tend to have less sense of delayed gratification, but that this is actually detrimental in quantifiable terms. To put it fairly simply, researchers who study internet addiction have found that the individuals with the ailment require constant gratification and find it much harder to plan long term. The internet may be incredibly convenient and make a lot of things very easy for us, but that isn't necessarily a good thing in every way. Number 7. Basic geography skills are abandoned more and more as GPS and other devices take their place. Not that many years in the past, people were expected to know their north, south, east, and west pretty well without even using a compass. Most people were taught growing up how to use various tricks to figure these things out. But today, unless a kid is specifically in a group like the Boy Scouts, they won't have much clue as to how to do these things when they reach adulthood. This is, of course, because of the rise of devices like GPS. People are abandoning learning skills like basic geography because now machines can just handle that task for them. While this might seem harmless, the consequences are that humans will become more and more dependent on machines, and we forget how to do important things without them. Apart from the more probable chance of our devices running out of power while we're in a situation where we need to know basic navigation, there's also the possibility that positioning satellites might not be working properly. The exponential threat of space junk could have a landslide effect that could wipe out hordes of satellites if the world doesn't quickly find a solution. Many people also don't realize that the maps that GPS systems use are often out of date, which means you might end up on a complete loop or trying to continually follow a nonsensical route because the road was rebuilt and the map was not. In that situation, you will need to know how to interpret road signs and use basic geographical knowledge to get back on track and find your way to your destination. Number 6. Sedentary lifestyles and microevolution towards such could be calamitous in the face of real disaster. It's no secret that people around the world are suffering a serious weight and public health crisis in general. It's not just that people are eating more and more or that they're eating the wrong foods, it's also that people are exercising less and less. Humans were once very active creatures, and in a very short amount of time, evolutionary speaking, we've become incredibly sedentary. Many people get up, walk around the house for a bit to get ready for work, and then they go to their car, they sit down and they drive to work. Then they sit at their desk for most of the day. They then sit in the car on the way home and spend most of the day when they get home sitting because they're mentally exhausted after work. The point of this is not to criticize the average person, but rather to point out that many people simply have little time or need in their day for rigorous physical activity. The increasingly fast-paced world we live in has also caused people to take increasing shortcuts when it comes to meal preparation, simply skipping prep and eating out, which has also contributed to the weight problem. While some scientists speculate that we will evolve over time to function better while spending most of the day slumped over electronic devices, this could turn out to be a very bad thing if we manage to evolve that far to begin with. If we evolve to mostly live in tandem with electronics and then we lose most of them for any particular reason, many people would then find survival very difficult. The more reliant we are on artificial means, the more danger we're in when those means collapse. Tech leaders are more worried about us putting too much stock in a computer system or systems in general and then watching it crash or malfunction. Number 5. The amount of skilled laborers is decreasing due to machines and assembly line systems. Assembly lines took off in the days of Henry Ford when mass production of the automobile began, and since then it has been nothing but trouble for the skilled laborer. The truth is that while many people credit Ford with the invention of the automobile, he was building on the ideas of several past inventors. His true claim to fame was always the assembly line systems that he designed and perfected for building cars, and well, they quickly became all the rage. Manufacturers and businesses saw a way to hugely cut production costs while outputting a ton of products, and before long, everyone was doing it. Many professionals did their best to make the system incredibly efficient, often at the expense of the workers' health or sanity. From the very beginning, skilled laborers were complaining because they rightly realized that if all the skilled components of their job could be broken up into pieces on a line and then each given to unskilled laborers, they would be out of a job, or at least they'd lose a lot of work. Many of them were forced to take work on an assembly line doing small bits of drudge work, only working on one piece when they could have made the entire thing themselves. While this has helped the modern age boom to an absolutely insane expansion all over the globe, it has cost the world an incredible amount of skilled laborers overall. More and more work is done piecemeal by people who are only taught to do a small part of the overall product creation. While mass production methods are efficient, they might hurt humanity as we continue to have less and less people who have full knowledge of how to build or design the things that we use most, some of which are very important not just for our convenience, but also for our survival. Number 4. Vitamin D deficiency due to a lack of sunlight has become a huge problem. While many people joke about being vampires today due to staying up late and then sleeping in during the day, it may not be a joking matter. And to make matters worse, it affects way more than just those people who tend to burn the midnight oil. The problem is that the average person in today's modern world, whether they get up in the morning or the afternoon, spends very little time outside exposed to actual sunlight. People get an insane amount of artificial light every day while indoors and even while outdoors, and this light pollution can actually be very detrimental to our health. However, actual exposure to real sunlight is very limited for most people, and when they go to the beach, people often fearfully lather on the sunscreen and once again fail to obtain any vitamin D. Of course, sunscreen could be used in certain situations to avoid actual sun damage, but some people apply such a strong sunscreen that they not only block any damage, they also avoid getting any potential health benefits from sunlight exposure. Having a deficiency in vitamin D is obviously not good for your health, and it has become an increasingly huge problem to the point that it's practically an epidemic. Researchers have discovered that the vast majority of children today are deficient in vitamin D, something that could become an increasing problem for each new generation. Children of today either need to take supplements or, ideally go outside and get some sun. Number 3. Our current mass production systems waste an absolutely insane amount of food. Worldwide, the amount of food that is thrown away uneaten and totally unused is absolutely staggering. The numbers themselves are hard to estimate because many countries report their numbers so differently or don't report them at all, but the best estimates suggest that if all the wasted food that is thrown away could actually be properly distributed, world hunger would not be an issue at all. We would simply have no trouble feeding everyone. The problem is, like many things in our modern world, in order to feed millions of people across huge swaths of land with an incredible sense of urgency, we have built a very assembly line system for the issue. This system is, in many ways, efficient in that we are able to get fresh foods shipped across continents and feed millions of people. But in another way, it's almost criminally inefficient. An incredible amount of food is thrown away in Europe, the United States, and other parts of the world simply because it doesn't look nice enough. These are fruits that have no actual issues beyond the cosmetics, such as being too curvy or not being red enough or perhaps being too lumpy. Truckloads and truckloads of perfectly good food are thrown away every single year for this reason. The farmers don't even try to sell them because the grocery stores feel that the customers will want the more consistent and beautiful looking food. For this reason, absolutely massive quantities are thrown straight in the trash heap. This is not even counting the amount of food that food-based businesses waste on a daily, weekly and yearly basis, or the waste from the combined individuals of the world. Perhaps if we did not waste food so shockingly, there would be no more world hunger. Number 2. We are forced to multitask in today's world, and it's really bad for us. In today's world, we're constantly expected to split our attention. While we are talking to people in person, we always have our phones, which constantly beep at us with notification after notification. People will half-heartedly interrupt themselves to look at their phone while continuing to talk to others, and those in the group will act as if this is completely normal and then often do the same themselves. This constant tendency to be interrupted by cell phones has caused a huge upsurge in distracted driving, to the point that many experts are now worried that distracted driving may be a bigger threat than drunk driving. Interruptions are constant, and the internet itself is designed to pull our attention all over the place and then back to where we were again. Many sites will have articles with not just a few links for source information, but dozens of links interspersed throughout brightly highlighted colors. We are almost expected to jump all over the place without any rhyme or reason. While some people may boast how good they are at multitasking, the truth is that researchers have found that whether forced or practiced, multitasking is really bad for your brain. It makes it hard for you to focus properly, and it hurts all of the tasks you're trying to do at the same time. Multitasking also doesn't really exist, at least not in the way that most people think it does. The reason why it's so bad for your brain is because you can only perform one kind of task at a time. So when multitasking, your brain is actually just jumping back and forth from each task really, really fast. This stresses you out and makes it harder for you to do any one task properly. Number 1. Our narcissistic obsession with taking selfies now causes more deaths per year than shark attacks. As the latest evolution of the internet exploded with sites like Facebook and BuzzFeed, we saw another, more irritating trend emerge. Before long, people were taking selfies, photos that they took of themselves, usually using a mobile device of some sort, and usually of the upper half of themselves staring vaguely into the camera. At first, most people actually made fun of selfies and the culture around them. Those that took a lot of them were mocked for needing attention or gratification from others, and many people found the idea that you can't find someone to take the picture for you to be kind of pathetic. However, despite the mockery, the popularity of taking selfies continued to rise, and before long they became an increasingly normal part of modern life. Companies now unironically sell selfie sticks, which are devices designed to help you hold out the camera while taking a selfie. I don't really feel like I need to explain that. While some people who don't enjoy their popularity may consider them a harmless nuisance, selfies are actually becoming an increasingly deadly fad. In recent years, people have been taking selfies in stranger places and more dangerous situations in order to get a really cool picture, but it can have less than desirable results. In many cases where people have been using these selfie sticks to take pictures near dangerous animals or near cliffs or high up on tall buildings, they've led to people being mauled or falling to grisly deaths. While it isn't exactly epidemic levels, enough people have died taking selfies that selfies have now edged out shark attacks and yearly deaths. It's a sad reflection that people are now more concerned with getting a perfect shot of their own face than they are with their personal safety. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got brand new videos every day of the week. If you're looking for something else to watch right now, I'm linking to some videos from the archives on the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.